What's up, everybody? Episode 14, The Swing Collective. Let's get it started, man. B?
What is going on, fellas? This is one of those weeks. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
We got four of them, and here's number two for the Swing Collective. Other than talking about what's going on with you guys, and I want to hear that. Man, we got a tournament to talk about, baby, and this one is ripe with drama. It's gonna be
absolutely.
fantastic.
Yeah, well, this is one of those where you get to see the pros humbled the way we typically are on any given Sunday.
Right.
And not that you wanted to be brutal and murderous, but at the same time, it's definitely going to be interesting theater.
I think. Well, go on.
We'll jump into that later, man. And you've hit on something I was reading about this morning at the gym. There's a lot of people. Do you want to see a tough golf course? Do you want to see the pros struggle? And the results are in, at least from Golf Digest. You might have read that article too, fellas. We'll talk about that when we get into it for sure.
Well, we got an agenda today, and the first little topic we're going to talk about is the course itself and the insanity of the rough and the thinness and the just difficulty of landing fairways and the speed of the greens. It's going to be a bloodbath.
It's going to be a barn burner. But before we get there, man, there's two guys. Before I talk about the Rorys and the Scotties and the Brysons and the Brooks and everybody, I want to hear about the Izzies and the Bs, man. What's going on with y'all's game? Be Smooth, you always good for a story and maybe an exotic locale. What's going on in your golf world?
Well, exotic locale, today I kind of had to come out of my golf room, so the ambiance and the connection to the game is missing. But of course, now you see that I'm actually brilliant, so I'm not sure if I can translate what I know from these books into that swing. I'd be probably at the US Open this week. But it's been weird. I haven't had as much opportunity to practice simulator, but for some reason, and Byrd, I know we've been chatting, I still feel like I'm locked in to where my game needs to be for the next step of improvement. And, obviously there's a bit of, zen and positivity thinking in that. At the same time, and I don't know if you guys have ever felt it, but you just feel like and a word that keeps coming up for me is confidence. And, I'm one of these entomologists, etymologists. One of them is about bugs. One's about words. I forgot which one's which. But confidence is really just means with faith.
Yeah.
And if you get that club in your hand, actually the driver's out for good. It's in the bag, so to speak. And I've got some good rounds. We'll talk about that a little bit later coming up. And I'm just hopeful. And you talked about your consistency, Byrd. I know you'll get to it. But for the last rounds I've played, the scoring doesn't represent the striking. And then I know that's just a matter of putting it together. I do tend to look at my rounds 6 holes by 6 holes by 6 holes. And I need to start looking at it front 9, back 9, and then eventually really building 18 quality holes together. And I know it's in there. So no, for me, and we'll go around the horn, Izzy, see what you're thinking. And I can come back and talk a little bit more. I just feel really good about the state of the game right now.
Well, I want to just clarify one thing before we throw it to Izzy. When you said the driver's out for good, you mean out and in use for good, or
out and in use? I actually showed up with it, and a couple of buddies of mine said, "Is that just decoration? Is it eye candy? is a sale tag on this thing?" And I'm like, "Nope. Today I'm going to use her." And 12, 13 of the holes I used it, and then probably 7 or 8 of the drives. 230, 240, which for me, because it's still a little bit of a tentative club and the course was open. And then my longest was 270. So I'm like, okay, when I get behind one, it'll do what I want it to do. So, and it's funny, I'm looking at Arcos and it says, hey, if you want to be a plus 10, a single digit or a 9, you've got to drive with about 60% accuracy fairway and about 230 yards. So I'm not looking for the impossible.
Yeah.
I'm just looking for something that I can believe in. And at this point, something, again, clicked and just said, man, enjoy the game, play the game, use the driver, and it's never going to get better sitting in the bag.
Well,
That's true.
I'm an unabashedly Be Smooth fan. Y'all know that if you listen to us on Apple Podcast and YouTube. I'm in the Be Smooth fan club. I might run for president. But so, and one thing I can tell you is there'll be some elbows thrown to see who gets to be the president of that fan club. You got a lot of friends in and out of the game. And I bet there's a fair number of your friends within the golf community that didn't know you owned a driver. And so for you to show up with one, dude, this is news. Like this will probably get picked up on ESPN and reported on tonight. Be Smooth actually owns a driver and he's using it. Now, also for you people that are listening to us on Apple or watching us on YouTube, I've played enough rounds with Be Smooth. He'll tee off with that 7-wood and it'll be in the middle of the fairway, 210 yards away, 9 times out of 10. So he's not hurting off the tee. This driver, I agree with you, man, will take you from where you are to where you want to be in a hurry. So
Yeah.
let's put it on the clock, man. We got to get the collective together. I want to see you swinging that thing. I've already seen it a little bit at Vic National. I want to see it some more.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But Izzy, I know you've had a couple of good weeks here as well. What's going on with your game?
So I'm actually I'm glad to hear that the driver's back in the bag, but I wanted to comment on the lack of driver for a period of time. There was a probably about a 6-month period where I took it out, and I actually took out all my woods and drivers, and I only played 2-iron off the tee down to wedges and putter because I was struggling with my irons, and I was like, I'm just going to force myself to play them until I figure it out. And it took me a couple of months to do, but once I did, it felt great. Then I put the driver back in the bag, and it wasn't great. And you can't use driver on every swing on every hole, so that same method of using the clubs won't work for that one. But yeah, man, I've been traveling a lot lately for work, but I've had some downtime, and I was able to play a round on Sunday. I went just late. I played 9, and I didn't play terribly. I liked your comment earlier. The score doesn't reflect the ball striking. I was hitting my irons really well. I mean, I was pin hunting by accident. It felt like I'd hit a shot and I'd look at where the ball's going and it's going right at the pin. Now distance was obviously not always in play for me, but where the direction I was hitting was, I mean, I honestly was a little unbelievable. It was really around the green where I was struggling. Tim, you remember last time you and I played, my pitching and my chipping game was probably the best part of the round for me. It was not the case on Sunday night. So I think I shot plus 12 through 9, which is not terrible, but for me, my goal is to break bogey golf. That's like if I break bogey golf, I'm happy right now. So
Right.
I was a little unhappy, but I can also say I did film that round, and having the camera there and trying to think about where it was going and being just aware of that was a little distracting. So I'm not beating myself up too much. I'm happy with everything right now except the driver. If I aim straight, it goes right. If I aim left, it goes left. So I hit I hit one drive on 6, the long par 5, just right down the middle, just creamed it.
Yep.
And actually birdied that hole. Everything else was just, I mean, I was in the trees or just it was not a good look for the driver that day. But overall, good round. Happy where the game's at. I did notice something. I haven't watched myself play golf before, so when I was editing the video, I had the opportunity to look at my own swing, which I've never actually really done. Um, and I noticed a few little things that I do that I can now fix. Like I know that whenever I putt, I actually flick a little bit at the end of my putt stroke. And I never knew that. I thought I had a pretty steady putt stroke. I don't. I flick. And so I'm like, all right, let me focus on keeping that putter flat. I sway a lot in my swing. So that's another thing that I didn't really realize that I did. But watching myself swing, I'm like, oh, God, I can work on that. So I have a couple things to work on the next couple of weeks. And I'm going to keep filming and making videos of me playing. So we'll see if there's a noticeable change in the viewer experience watching that. So what about you,
Great.
Bird?
Well, a lot to unpack for me. If I tell you about my golf for the last week, I can summarize it like this. Y'all have any questions? Because that's been my last week of golf. Had to go in and get cardiac ablation done a week ago, and everything I read online was like, the next day you're a little tired. The second day you're back at it. You can't lift a whole lot, different things like that. Take it easy. Clearly, I was not ready on the second day, and I was really surprised. I needed like 4 days to feel human again, but it was a week ago yesterday. So today's the official day that the doctor's notes said, "Hey, go do what you want to do if you don't think you have any complications." I don't think I do. I was at the gym this morning reading Golf Digest that we mentioned earlier, doing different things. But before I went in, um, if if my golf game was the Truman Show, then the scene would have started like this: the camera's panning in, and I come out on my front porch, and the birds are chirping, and the sun is shining, and that song, "I can see clearly now, the rain is gone." That song, "Bright sunshiny day." That's my golf game, and it doesn't mean I'm going to beat anybody. I'm not playing at Oakmont this week. But from where I started the year, really using a simulator for the first time and learning that you can't listen to everybody and you can't try to fix everything at once. You probably shouldn't have 10 swing thoughts in your mind when you get over the ball. I started this year and I felt scuzzy, like I might not ever come back and play well. Last 4 rounds, 85, 86, 92, and I understand why that happened, and a 90 that I finished that round double, double, double. And if not for that, would have solidly been in the 80s. And I should be frustrated. I guess I am frustrated, but I'm not, because as we're in the Be Smooth family tree here, the ball striking that day was fantastic.
Yeah.
A couple of putts slipped out, one bad chip, and then finished with 3 doubles, or it would have been around an 85-ish,
Yeah.
And one of those rounds in the league that I play in down in Richmond, Virginia, the GTM amateur guys, I know you are listening to the Swing Collective. You're part of Studio Golf XL as well. So I was second in my flight, missed first by 3 strokes, finishing double, double, double. So if I just would have taken care of business,
Yeah.
I would have been fine and probably would have won the flight. But 115 or so guys in the league. I'm 19th in points. I was 43rd coming into that round. I left 19th, and all the confidence in the world that I'll continue to get better. There's not a club in the bag that I fear hitting, and I've never felt like that in all the years I've played golf. Like sometimes it's the fairway wood, sometimes it's the chips. And Izzy, you've been there and you've seen, man, I have been horrible around the green in the past. But now I feel like, does that mean I'm going to hit every shot well? Of course not. Of course not. Tiger doesn't.
Not yet.
Nobody. No. But I might have mentioned this on our last episode. Bob Rotella was talking about Tom Kite when he won the US Open. He said Tom Kite knew he was going to, hit that shot well 9 times out of 10. So when he hit it poorly and someone asked, "Hey, does that you wreck your confidence?" Au contraire, mon frère. It actually makes me more confident because I know I hit that club right 9 times out of 10 and I just got the bad one out of the way. So that's kind of how I feel. I've dramatically reduced the number of voices that I'm watching. Danny Maud, I think I mentioned him last time. Shout out to Danny Maud. If you ever stumble onto this podcast, we'll have you on as a guest, man, because you are aces. It's just something about the way he teaches and what he's saying. It just clicked. And I feel like, sure, I'm going to have some bad rounds, but I think I have a bedrock to come back to from some of the things I've been working on. And that leads us maybe to some new equipment in the bag. I know we got a driver for Be Smooth, and Izzy likes everything but his driver. Y'all might remember there was a commercial for one of the investment companies where the guy was in front of the clubhouse and all he had was a bag full of drivers. And the purpose of the commercial was you need the right tool for the job. You can't go out there and play 18 with all drivers.
Yeah.
But there have been rounds, that's the only club I hit well. And, you know, B, you and I have been in some rounds where I will consistently find the middle of that fairway off the tee and be long, only to wreck it after that. So I feel like that's coming down a little bit. And I'm really excited for the next few rounds. And I've got one to tell y'all about at the end of this episode. But any new equipment in the bag for either one of you guys?
Maybe not so much equipment, but you guys both just kind of struck something. I had the 5-year-old twins had birthdays this past week. One of the reasons over the weekend I didn't get as much golf in practice wise or watching. And one of the twin that's a boy was dancing, and we videoed it, kind of to your point, Izzy, and I could tell in his head it was coming off differently than it was being captured in video. But I also kind of connect that, Byrd, to what you said about voices, and you're talking about voices like voices of instruction, voices telling you to do this, to do that. But I think about Bob Rattel, and I think about the voices in my head. So it's weird. And I talked about confidence. I actually took a kind of a meditative session with ChatGPT, loaded in a bunch of things, and it actually said, hey, you're approaching the game a little bit wrong. And I know you're listening to AI to tell you how to build confidence. But I gave it said, what do you do before a round? And I said, well, I'll look at the golfers I'm going to play with. I'll find them. Even if I don't know them, I'll find them, find their gens. And then I admitted that I immediately picked up a level of anxiety when there's a 4 in the group versus, but when I had a group where we were all 17, 18s and 19s, it's like, oh, relax. And yeah, you end up having both a great recreational round, a bit of a camaraderie round. And the point I drive toward is that the majority of golfers watching us on the Swing Collective are at the other end of that curve where they're playing to 14s, 18s, 20s. That's just the way the statistics bear out, that the majority of golfers are not singles and not 4s and 5s.
Yeah.
But I immediately pressurized the game a little bit, out of, I'll say ego, or at least the ability to not want to embarrass. And then at the same time, what Chat told me was, but if it's easier for you to play to your 18 and maybe based on course handicap, get to 21 than it is for that 4 to play to a 7. And it just statistically, and so if you're gambling, if you're playing for things beyond pride, I actually statistically have a better chance to play my score and win. And we had a buddy of ours that went to Ireland, and he started listing out his scores, and I would have never seen him shooting scores like that for the courses we play.
Yeah, right.
So I'm all over there, but what I think the reality for me is, the driver, to your point, is statistically, if I hit it well, I'm going to go 30, 40 yards further than that 210 in the middle. And the second shot is going to give me a better chance to be on than if I'm hitting the 7 wood again, trying to go another 200 yards to hit a green.
Yeah.
So now it's just settle in, relax, and ultimately what it said is play your game, trust your swing. And if you do that, you'll give yourself the best chance to enjoy the round, which is paramount. But secondly, to perform. And then from there, just let the chips fall where they may.
I like it.
Good mindset to have.
Like you're doing the same thing, and you're going to get some of this on video this week.
Oh no, absolutely. Awesome. Yeah, no, it's I'm going to have a range session before I play on. Actually, tomorrow night is my next round that I'm going to videotape, and my main focus has been extension in the backswing, staying long, and I feel like whenever I swing, I crunch, and so it'll now be maybe I may have too many swing thoughts. We're going to see how well that round goes, but extension in the backswing, keep your head still, and then whenever I putt, just don't try to. Because I think whenever I putt, I like to pick where my line's going to be, and then I pick a spot straight on that line of what I want my distance to be. And I'm like, in my head, I'm hitting there. I'm not hitting for the hole. I'm hitting this. The ball will fall, or it will turn wherever it needs to. And I think part of that is I'm trying to get it to that spot. And so I might try the claw. and see how that
Right.
goes. We'll see. I may
Hey,
try it
it
on the ground.
works well for this one golfer that's been winning a few here
Yeah,
lately, so
yeah,
it might work. Well, that's great, man, and it's so much fun just to get on here and talk about where our games are. Because we're all trying to get to the same place. We're going about it a little differently, but the Chat GPT idea, I'm going to do that. See what it tells me. Now I'm afraid Chat's going to come back and go, child, we have to talk, but we'll talk through it. Like it'll be fine. But I do the same thing as you. I immediately, who am I playing with? And if I'm the ass end of the parade, I start getting a little stressed out because I'm
Mhm.
like, oh man, I'm going to embarrass myself. It is ego. It's all it is. But
Yeah.
I also, two different sources last week when all I could do was read about the game because I couldn't go out and take any swings. 26% of us, if we're all being honest out there and we're not using the pencil wedge, 26% of us break 90 on a regular basis. So
Mhm.
if we can get there, and I feel like I'm knocking on the door in the sense that, yes, I am breaking 90. I might not live there 100% of the time, but if I went out and played tomorrow, bogey golf, Izzy, to your point, I mean, I'm shooting below a 90. I'm breaking 90. And if
yeah,
I'm not, I feel like something's gone awry. So
yeah.
I'm already in the top quarter of us out there. So
Right.
why is it when I go to the first tee, never met these cats, whether I look them up or not, I assume I'm the fourth best golfer here. When statistically speaking, that would be very difficult to be the worst golfer here if I'm consistently breaking 90
Yeah.
each and every round. Maybe sometimes, but not every time. And one other thing, and we talk about new equipment, and I've done this, and I might take some ribbing on it. If Ando was here, he'd start shaking his head and laughing at me. I know he would. But I am going to put one new club in the bag. I ordered it today. Says it'll be here next week. I won't be, so it might be about 10 days before we get to meet each other. But I bought a chipper. Uh, I bought the Ping chipper,
Okay.
42 degree, but 66-degree lie angle, and used a putting stroke, and you just bump and runs around the green. And if I were to tell you where do I lose strokes most
Mhm.
often, inside of 50 yards
Yep.
easily. And I know a lot of people say that, but if you put me, you know, in the first cut 10 yards from the green, for most people, even mediocre golfers, they get up there and they go, all right, I know what this is. They might not execute it, but I'm literally, while we're bearing our souls here, I'm getting over that shot going, please Jesus, don't let this go screaming across the green, then it's self-fulfilling prophecy and it happens. Or I chunk it and it doesn't go, and then I get angry and I step up and just swing and it works out. Like, why didn't I do that a minute ago? But I know that the chipper is gonna take some of that anxiety out, because all I have to do is commit to that putting stroke inside of 40 yards and let it bump and run up there. And if it can take away two or three shots around, and I'm living in the high 80s, I mean that's a huge improvement.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to get that rolling. It'll be a week after next, but I'll let you guys know how it goes.
Well, so Bird, you just inspired me again because I have actually, I think it's the Cleveland chipper. It's the really good one that they made. And it's funny that you get around some of your guys, the buddies, the ones that you do know how they play. And there is a lot of shaming that goes on. Even when I put the 7-wood in, I had to explain that Dustin Johnson hits one, Adam Scott. I literally had to do research as to who else hit a 7-wood.
Right.
Of course, they're cranking theirs 260, 270, but that's a different story. And
Exactly.
not to digress, but I took a little bit of ribbing on the chipper and I pulled it out. So again, it's back to that, and some people even questioned. I'll say, can you use it? Is it legal? And I didn't. So I don't know what your thoughts would be there, but I'm putting it back in the bag.
I looked it up. It's legal. It's good for competition. So certainly going to be good for any time we're all playing together. And you know, I would assume that a lot of people get ribbing because it's a $180 club. I had to find it obviously because I hit from the correct side of the ball, unlike you guys, and I'm a lefty. And I found it on Second Swing in
Mm-hmm.
certified pre-owned condition flawless, $59.99. So somebody got rid of it, and they paid that 180 for it, and then it's been sitting at second swing for a while, and they're probably like, when in the heck are we going to sell this thing? Today, brothers, you sold it today. So I can't wait to try it, man. And if anybody wants to rib me, then go ahead. I'll tell you a quick story. A friend of mine here locally, he's an agent, sells a lot of different types of health insurance. Scott, if you're listening to this, hope you're doing well, my man. He was at one of our near and dear favorite courses, and it's Ballyhack. Mm-hmm. So he was at Ballyhack for a charity event, and I guess it was the first par three on the front or the first one on the back. I can't remember. Maybe it was, come to think of it, maybe it was number 7, that one that's up on the shelf and you can't really see it. I actually think that was it. And they were like 160 yards away ish. I think is about what that plays usually be. And he broke out his 3 or 4 hybrid and used it and hit it and couldn't see it land, and then saw everybody was going bananas up at the green. He had made an ace. So he rolls up there and he gets his ball. Pandemonium. Everybody's flipping out. And somebody from Ballyhack took the ball, said, we're going to do something special here for you. Put it in a shadow box with a picture of the hole, the length and what he hit. And it's hanging in his man cave about 10 miles from where I sit right now. So he told me a bunch of people are over one night. They start looking at it like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. Ballyhack, number 7, 165 yards with a 3 hybrid. You use a 3 hybrid for 165 yards? Come on, Sally. And he said, I looked at him and I said, do you know what they call a 165-yard hole-in-one with a 3 hybrid? And the guy said, no, what? He said, an effing hole-in-one. That's what they call it. So, my man, if I go out there and I break 85 and people want to laugh at me about my chipper, we'll laugh all the way back to the clubhouse.
Yeah, that's funny. I have a life pro tip for anybody who is anxious about playing with other players who they're not familiar with. If you just don't have a registered GIN number or a GIN, then you can't look anybody up.
There you go. Yeah, as far as we know, Izzy scratch. That's we don't know.
So I have a number, but it's not. I don't have it. I have a handicap, but it's like an estimated one based off of the rounds. I'm not registered. I don't have a registered GIN yet. So
yeah,
I need to remedy that.
Yeah, and some courses like obviously if you travel to Scotland, Noah and I are going to Ireland here in a month. You have to travel with your GIN, or they won't let you on the course.
Why?
Lenient. I can't remember if it's a 25 or something like that. Like it's
they're like you have to be a certain skill level, otherwise you're going to mess up. Okay, I guess that makes sense.
If you're a true hack, which when I was a 25, I could hack up the courses with the best of them. But if you're a true hack, they don't let you out there. You got to at least have a GIN, and you got to be 25 or less.
I should probably remedy that.
Yeah, if you ever find yourself getting to play a good event. Speaking of good events, I guess some of golf's best players are convening in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania area, one of the finest cities I've ever had the opportunity to visit.
Love Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh is where it's at, man. And I'm a Steelers fan, but I also love the Pirates. But apart from that, just a damn good city with damn good people. So I wish we were up there right now recording this from Oakmont. But
hey, maybe next year.
It's about to get real, isn't it, fellas?
Dude, look, we were talking about it. One of the things we want to talk about, the course itself, the condition that it's in, and the difficulty in the level of play that the professionals are going to have to play at to score on this course. You guys all know who Riggs is, part of the Foreplay podcast.
Yeah.
You all know you may not know, but he's like a +4, I think is what his handicap is.
I didn't know he was that good. Riggsy.
Yeah, right. He's good. His last couple rounds that he carded were he shot a 69 last month somewhere, and his two most recent rounds were a 72 and a 73. they're at Oakmont doing the pre, the
and a scramble.
yep,
Yeah,
he shot a 106.
from the tips, I'm sure. Right,
Sure, but a
right,
106 from a golfer who, I mean, is
mm-hmm.
significantly better than me.
Right,
Uh,
right.
the difficulty of this course going into this is going to be,
So
I mean, and
it's insane.
we talked about it earlier about you mentioned the article that you read on, do we want the players to struggle or do we want them to
Mhm.
go low? And I don't think really either of those is the right answer. I think we want to see the players overcome. The most interesting and fun and entertaining rounds of golf to watch are when a player is in the weeds or they are in a terrible position and they do something crazy and make it out. That's what people want to watch. They want to see the victory over just my ball's in 5 inches of rough and I somehow managed to pop it up on the green and get it to stop when physics tells me I shouldn't be able to.
Yeah, kind of like that guy. I forget his name. He won the Masters this year, and everybody's talking about what a great final round of a major that is. Depending on who you talk to, it's making a lot of people's lists as the all-time or top three or top five or whatever. Um, and I think you're spot on. It wasn't the fact that maybe a lot of us, me included, wanted to see Rory get it.
Yeah.
It was the fact that he won it and lost it, won it and lost it and won it, and that was just
Mm-hmm.
compelling
Yeah.
golf, man. It was unbelievable.
Right.
I'm with you, but you know, we've never heard the USGA officially say we try to make this hard, so hard that the winner is at level par or in the black numbers. They've never admitted that. They just say we want this to be the hardest test of golf all year. But anyway, Golf Digest, this month's episode, they posed that question: do you want to see the U.S. Open champion struggle? Do you want to see him in black numbers? So 35% of respondents said yes, absolutely. I want to see
Right.
him struggle. Golf has gotten too easy. The equipment and the technology has made all the par fives reachable, virtually all of them. I want to see them struggle, and I want to see them have to deal with adversity like I have to when I play.
Mm-hmm.
60%, almost twice as many, 60% of respondents said no. I want to see eagles and birdies because I don't get to see them when I play. That's why I tune in,
Yeah.
right? I don't want to see them, suck around the course. If I was going to do that, I would just go play myself. And then 5% of the respondents said that is what it is. Whatever happens, happens. So it was really surprising because I would have thought more people want to see that. But as I read the article, Noah and I have big plans this weekend, and we're going to go play Saturday morning. And I think the rain's supposed to set in, so we're going to watch the third round, and then Sunday we're going to cook up a meal together and watch the final round. I don't want to see the winner at 4 over par. That's not fun. But I do want to see exactly what you said, Izzy. I just want to see somebody conquer the course.
Yeah.
But it does not hurt my feelings that it is a beast. I want to see that I want to see that come true. I want to see the winner find a way to 4 under like DJ did the year he won there. I think he was at 4 under.
Yeah.
But what do you think, B? Do you want to see it?
Well, so I'm with you. I mean, I think there's a part of any of us that think, okay, these guys are in the superlative rank. They shouldn't go out and struggle like we might. And we'll talk about some of the things, even as we were out at Vic National. I think we saw that it was the 18th toughest course. And there's some things that make it tough, but but it puts a premium on where you hit your balls, where your misses, and narrowing your misses. So I don't want to see it be demoralizing in the sense where it's just not fun to watch.
Right.
I think I want to see it be a true test of ball striking, shot shaping, yes, up and down, putting. I mean, you want to see it be as it should be with the U.S. Open. I know it's the 10th time they've been at Oakmont, so there's some historical perspective on low or not so low scores. But then I still want there to be 3 or 4 that are sort of right there when it gets ready to finish. And yes, they're going to be the ones we're going to talk about who just kind of should be in that conversation because their games match
Yeah.
the course. And then there should be one or two surprises that are right there. And to me, that's what kind of creates the theater. But in this case, the underdogs are all of the players because the course is setting it up to where everybody's an underdog. The course is trying to basically be the but I would prefer there it have some reasonableness versus again demoralization. But we're going to see some people that we think are going to be in the top 5 that are going to miss the cut. Or actually, this is a cut event, right? I want to make sure.
For sure.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't be in the camp to watch them suffer. No.
Yeah. I think no matter if the winner's at 4 under or 4 over,
Yeah.
just please let it be a dog fight when they make the turn on Sunday. That to me, I don't want to see somebody run away with it.
Yeah.
And, we might have some opinions there on is someone going to run away with it or not. We'll get there in a minute, but go ahead, Izzy.
One thing I wanted to talk about was, and I've seen interviews with a couple of players who talked about this specifically, how courses are getting longer and longer to try and make it so that everyone isn't shooting 30 under when they go and play a weekend at a tournament. And that's why we're seeing par threes that are, 350, almost coming up on 300 yards almost for a par three, and at a certain point, it's like you need to make the hole more difficult without making it longer. Make a green where you're having, you're hitting 150 yards, but maybe it's got 3 tiers and the hole's like right next to one of the lips. That if you are off a couple of feet, there's the pain. The pain is that if you aren't precise, you have a failure, rather than, okay, you gotta grab your 3-wood. And why you should never use a 3-wood on a par 3. Like the most interesting holes aren't long. I think the Masters has a few great par 3s that are an 8-iron or what is it?
Amen corner.
Exactly. That's not a long hole, but it's a difficult hole because of the way that the green and the slope and where the bunkers are is placed, and the angle of the green off of the tee, how it angles away from you. And then my question is, are people shooting high here at this course because they're trying to hit as far as they can, and then they're missing the fairway and ending up in this deep rough, when they could maybe take their 3-wood or their 5-wood or whatever, hit a little bit shorter and be a little bit more accurate, and they're choosing not to do? Is it their fault you're shooting high because they're just trying to be the furthest up the field? And maybe
I'm not sure it's because they choose to. Maybe it's just how they play, and this course, I think you are spot on every bit of it, man. What makes Amen Corner so difficult? I would say it's not because it's just a 120-yard shot, or I guess maybe I would say it because they don't get those shots very often. And I've got to hit a wedge here, and I have to finesse it in there, or I'm just going to be over in the azaleas, and we see that so much. What makes Sawgrass 17 such a hard hole? I don't think it's the water. I think it's the distance. Because we watch the creators get up there, and Gabby Golf Girl gets up there and hits it stiff because that's her length, but it's not the length of a pro. So I think you're right, man. But that's what makes this course, I think, so provocative for me. I forgot, and I don't know how I did, but I forgot about the church pews and how they come into play on back-to-back holes. And I'm like, oh, man, what happens when those guys get in there? And they're going to get in there. Like, what's going to happen? Bryson put a video up this week where he played a practice round. He shot even par 70, So, and I think he had 6 or 8 pars, no more than that. A lot of birds, a lot of bogeys. So, I mean, it was really interesting. But this course, just to me, I mean, Henry Founds built it 1903. It was his first one that he'd ever built. Did y'all know that? It was his first course design ever. And then in his career, he designed one golf course. it was his only golf course that he ever designed.
Wow.
So when I get a minute, I would love this. Who is Henry Founds? Because, dude, you created a masterpiece, 120 years ago, and never did it again. So it's going to be such a test. And man, in the morning, it's going to be one of those mornings I get to work and the monitor is here and the TV is there, and they will both be on because people are going to start getting into some trouble right away.
Yeah.
Right. No, Izzy, you struck something a moment ago too, and the whole thing back in Tiger's heyday about tiger proofing courses. You think about Beth Page Black, and I forgot it says something about only extremely skilled golfers or extremely hard skilled golfers only. I think and I know they can obviously move tee boxes when the regular people get out there, but I've played a couple of the courses, and I won't mention names. I don't want to do any of that just yet. But where you have the lure of, oh, the pros have played here, now I'm playing here, and the 106 that you talked about a moment ago notwithstanding, in a couple of those instances, it just wasn't fun.
Yeah.
And so, obviously a course has to do more than just host an event. It's got to be playable for the members, for the people that spend, resources and time and money to get to them to play. And even as you're repping Pebble today, Byrd, that's a great example of a course that it plays stiff enough that it takes some metal to win, but then the average golfer can go and it's still a joy to play.
Right.
So for me, I still want that translation, but I do believe the course is going to have a say, and then the players are all underdogs facing the test. And again, to your point, +4, -4 should be real good theater to watch.
Oh man, it's going to be great. I can't wait to see it. And that 106 scares me if I ever get a chance to play it. And I'd love to one day. What am I going to shoot when I go up there? I can imagine if Riggsy's a +4 and he shot a 106, I'm going to go up there and say, yeah, I spent a couple days at Oakmont. Oh, did you play 36? No, just the 18.
This is what's going to surprise you about those rounds. Riggs shot a 106. Trent shot a 104.
Unbelievable. So
and Francis shot a 91.
Okay. All right.
So maybe he just had a particularly bad day.
Right.
But it's still surprising given his skill and given his handicap that
Well, I would go into it thinking, all right, I'm trying to break 90 every time I play. What's the yardage from the tips? How many shots is that realistically? I'm trying to break 100. I mean, if I shot a 90 something at Oakmont, I'd be happy as a clam.
Oh, no, absolutely. Any of these courses, I'd be happy with that.
Noah played Pinehurst number 2 3 or 4 years ago. I think he said he shot a 95 or a 96 and walked out the king of the world, because he broke 100. So that's how I would look at that.
Yeah.
So let me ask you guys a question, and I'll follow up with my answer when you're done. You have to pick one of the A-list top golfers in the world to win the US Open at Oakmont this weekend. One of the A's, and you know who I'm talking about. Who are you picking out of all of them? Who would be your pick? B, we'll start with you.
Well, just because it starts with a B, and I think it's about course managing, accuracy off the tee, distances dialed in, good putting. I'm going with Bryson.
Solid choice, man. Did you watch the whole thing when he shot that 70?
I did not. I've seen highlights, obviously, but no.
Yeah. What struck me about it is he was in control. He started on 10, finished on 9. He was in complete control of that round. Yeah, man. A couple balls ended up in the rough. He got out. Some putts didn't go his way, some misreads, some lip outs. But he was in control all the way around, and that 70 could have been a 66 or a 67 realistically. Could have been a 74 too, so you never know. But that's a solid pick.
And I've seen some videos where he's actually just kind of walked little shorts where he's walked and dropped balls in places. And when you see the level of the thickness, it's not just power. You actually have to know how to go down and get the ball.
Yeah.
You do.
Which he's at this point, I think he is a scientist, and that's another reason. So between accuracy and everything you just mentioned, I'm going to go back and watch that video in full. But that'd be my pick this week.
Solid pick. Izzy, you got to pick
you
one of
guys
the
already
18.
know. Akshay, but I'm kidding. Look, Scotty Scheffler. I mean, who's first in strokes gained? Scotty Scheffler. Who's first off the tee? Scotty Scheffler. Who's first in approach to the green? Scotty Scheffler. The only person, he doesn't lead around the green. I think he's still ranked pretty well right now, especially lately with his new putting technique. Putting, he's not first. He's not first around the green either, but with his putting getting better, I think that if he plays conservatively, he'll just win by being better. If let me rephrase. If he plays conservatively off the tee to make sure he's in a good approach position, I think he wins because he's better. He's just that guy with everything else. And when his putting, like they said, when his putting's off, he's top 10, and when his putting's on, he just wins by insane margins. So he's my guy. Just statistics tell me Scotty Scheffler. I like the Bryson pick. He's good, and like you said, he's a scientist and he studies his stuff. And learning about him the last couple of years, it's really interesting how he approaches the game, and I like his mindset on it. But I have to pick Scotty.
Yeah, well, there was a member of the Swing Collective on our earlier episode. You can find those on Apple Podcasts, YouTube. And he said he didn't think Scotty was going to have the year like he had last year. And I don't want to name any names, but it was me. And I will not make that mistake again. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you Scotty Scheffler is not going to win the US Open. Fact of the matter is he might make it a laugher, and we all get together next week and go, why do we even spend any time talking about anybody else? He showed us who he was the last month. Fair. That being said, if I had to pick one of the top guys, I too am going with Bryson because of just when you listen to him, for all the reasons you said, Izzy, you said it better than I could, but just, okay, what is this? All right, this is 135 yards. The wind is this. It's playing uphill that. That means a 10, 30, 50 degree or whatever. It wouldn't be a 50 degree at that distance.
Yeah, it definitely wouldn't be 10, 30.
And he executes it, and it's within 6 feet. And then I think where it will come down to is if there's a game of Scotty's that's least dominant, it would be his putting. And while it is getting better, this is going to be slick, and it's going to be the hardest test of putting this year, most likely. And I think that's where he'll lose it. And it's not because I think he'll be off the leaderboard or anything like that. I just feel like he won't make enough putts to win where Bryson probably will or could. So among the A team, I would also follow B's footsteps and say Bryson. Who did we not mention? What's going on with Mr. McIlroy?
McIlroy, yeah. No, so that was the first thing I thought. I thought maybe somebody, or at least before now, his name would have come up. And it's not form as much, even though I know you watched this weekend and I didn't get to see, so I don't know what the results were. I just don't feel like this venue suits his game. That's just, and I may eat crow, and maybe he'll place well, but I don't think he's in the winners conversation for me.
Yeah, not just us, but a lot of people said one or two things going to happen after he wins the Masters. He's either going to go on a tear or he's going to have a letdown where he can breathe. And then look what's happened since Augusta. He had the flap about the driver not passing inspection. That was much ado about nothing. I think the casual or less than even casual golfer was like, what? He's using illegal stuff? No, of course not. But he had to deal with that. And, he dipped out on Hilton Head and he dipped out on the Memorial and kind of ghosted Jack, however that worked out. Mm-hmm. He skips interviews regularly because he just doesn't want to talk about it.
Right.
So I don't know, man. I just don't. I don't think he's. Far be it from me, who is thrilled that he's breaking 90, to tell you what's wrong with Rory McIlroy's game, a Grand Slam winner. That's not what I'm doing, but it just seems like there is a focus that it took for him to take care of business early in the year. Pebble, Sawgrass, Augusta, and he just doesn't quite have that focus now. And he'll get it back, or he won't. But right now it just looks like he's not ready to, contend at a venue that's this tough. And if he doesn't, he doesn't, man. He's earned the right to, take a deep breath. So let's go around the horn again. And what about dark horses? Somebody that's not an A teamer. This will give Izzy a chance to talk about Akshay Bhatia, But who else would you say, if not Bryson, if not Scotty, if not Xander, if not, these guys, then who? Do you have anybody on your list? Because I have two.
B?
Anybody jumping out?
Izzy, I'll defer to you on this one.
Okay, I mean, look, I'll be honest. Again, I've been playing golf since 2020, and I love playing. But getting into the professional scene and knowing who's who, I'm still quite new to that piece of this. So I don't know too many names outside of the big ones. I have some people like obviously Akshay Bhatia that I follow. Just I saw him years ago. I saw him years ago on a YouTube channel, and I loved his personality, and I loved the way he played, and I loved the way he swung a golf club, and it just kind of stuck.
Me too.
So really, outside of him, and again, he's ranked 33 right now. Those are like heart picks. I don't see anybody who's not a major player and A player on the tour right now winning this. I just don't see any dark horses coming out on top. It isn't that course. The courses where those people win are the ones where anybody can win, or the conditions are good enough that anybody could win. Anybody can't win here.
Right. And you can't have a good round. You got to do it 4 times.
Yeah,
better than everybody else. Right.
So that'll be my pick. I think I'll take it back. Justin Thomas. There's my dark horse YOLO. Somehow it's gonna click, and he's gonna just figure it out. He's gonna get his finesse back. He's gonna get his accuracy and his short game and his off the tee back in line, and somehow he's going to win the Open. That's my prediction.
Well, this is the one place you can have a round and shoot an 80,
yeah,
and we'll still win.
You still have a shot. Yeah.
Yeah. B, you got anybody?
Byrd, what do you think? No, I'll defer to you on this one as well, Byrd. I know you've got someone you're itching to tell us who you think it may be.
Well, I will tell you 2 guys that I think are going to do very well, including one of them that's going to win the tournament. And I don't want to be that guy that stayed at a Holiday Inn Express last night. Now I think I'm the smartest guy in the room. But I read some articles today, a couple of them, different sources, all kind of said the same thing. It's going to come down to 3 things, according to these experts. I would agree. Driving accuracy, so not necessarily distance, because Izzy, to your point, it's not a perpetually long course. There's some drivable par 4s, although you'd be a fool to necessarily go for them. But you need driving accuracy. Second is approach shots, but not just any approach shot. We're talking about the approach shots that are 125, 130 yards and shorter. And if you watch that Bryson video, B, he had several holes where he was 110 to the pin, and he's obviously got a great game, and he will do just fine this weekend. Might win it. But the second thing, you got to be good with your short approaches, and then third, man, you got to be a lights out putter. Yeah. And when you crunch the numbers and you look at who is leading the PGA Tour in driving accuracy, and it's more specifically strokes gained due to driving accuracy.
Right.
Who's leading the PGA or among the leaders in short approach shots, and who's putting exceptionally well? 2 names jumped off the page for me. And number 1 is Colin Morikawa. So, if anybody's watching this or listening to this on Apple and they go, well, wait a minute, he's an A player. Sure he is. Won a couple majors. But no one's talking about him. That's all I'm saying. And I think he's going to do very well. He is currently in the top 5 in strokes gained due to driving accuracy. We know he's one of the best iron players out there, and the man can putt. So I think he's going to be on the leaderboard for some or most of this tournament. And another guy who is in the top 5, and I believe all 3 of those categories, is the guy who I believe is going to win the tournament, and that's Ludwig Oberg. So he drives it exceptionally well with precision. His approach shots are fantastic, and he's one of the elite putters. So he was able to come to the Ryder Cup not as an unknown, but at least to us on this side of the Atlantic, a virtual unknown. Pressure didn't bother him a bit. First Masters, second place.
Right.
So I think he's got the stones. I don't think I'm worried about him shrinking when he gets to Bethpage, Oakmont, and I think he wins the tournament. So that's my pick. I think Ludwig's going to do it, and if Scotty beats everybody by 8 strokes, then Ando can come back next week and laugh at me some more.
Well, actually, there's a little bit of prophetic in some of the things you said there, and I could agree with Ludwig that he'd be a front runner. But on the odds maker side, and I'm not a gambling man on this one, I'll only gamble when I have the club in my hand. But you've got, Scotty at the top, Bryson, Rory, John Rahm, which we haven't also mentioned, but he's been struggling. Of course, any one of them can get it together. Xander was next, but then Colin Morikawa was like in the top 6 from the odds makers. So he's got the game to do it, even if his year's been a little bit unspectacular. I actually just kind of looking at the field and thinking, okay, to your point, ball striking off the tee, accuracy to the fairway, approach shots. And it's not so much a pick that I think, but it would be someone who has the game. And I think the mental piece, but Tommy Fleetwood, I think he's right now ranked number 13-ish, somewhere there in the top 15 for sure. And his game just seems to suit. And to your point, and I know we're not saying that Rory doesn't have the right mentality to win a place like Oakmont, but where he is right now, I think there's a bit of both fatigue and diminished. Just you've got to regroup. We're none of us are at 100% at work every day.
Yeah,
just not possible.
Well, he's even said it in interviews. He just isn't putting the time in right now, which is fine. He earned it, but he's not doing it. And I don't think it. And I think that lack of is going to show up on this tournament.
Right.
This venue, that's a disqualifier.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so when we get to that mental toughness piece, that's another reason I don't think, someone coming out of left field can win, because you've got to do that 4 rounds. And Sunday's going to be a tester, even if you're, seasoned. So I could like Tommy Fleetwood and think, okay, and I love Justin as well, just because I've rooted for him most of the episodes. But I don't think that's a venue for him either. So I'm going to stick with Bryson overall, but and I like Ludwig just for the way you described him. But then Tommy Fleetwood might also be in the conversation.
Well, you went dark horse with Fleetwood, and he's a funny dude, man. 0 majors, 0 PGA wins, and I can't tell you why I like the heck out of him, but I do. I would love to see Tommy Fleetwood get it this weekend. That'd be fantastic. It's just always the bridesmaid, maybe not even the bridesmaid, just always at the tail end of the procession or something.
I didn't say Ricky Fowler, even though he's resurged slightly here over the last few weeks. Those are favorites because they're easy to root for.
Yeah.
But you're right. It's going to be tough. It's going to be one of the ones we've mentioned that are going to win this.
I would be shocked. I mean, I would honestly not believe it if somebody else won. I just don't see it, given the difficulty of the course and the level of consistency needed over 4 days to just break par.
Fair. Last question I'll pose to you guys, because this complicated figure for me used to be my favorite golfer. Now I just cringe every time I hear him start talking. But they make the turn on Sunday, and Mickelson is somehow a couple strokes out of the lead, going for his career Grand Slam. Are you pulling for him, or not?
I'm pulling.
You want to see it?
I mean, if he's there, I'm in, right? If it's like he's not even remotely close to winning, then it's like, all right, I'm not going to think about it. But if he's up there and he's close, I want it because I want it to happen, and
Yeah,
it'd be a crazy storyline. It'd be an interesting tournament to watch, and it would be insane. It would be insanity if he won.
it would. Unlikely to happen,
Mhm.
but this is Phil's last year of eligibility for the U.S. Open. Next year, he'll have to qualify for the U.S. Open. So interesting to see how that goes on. He play at Augusta for as long as he wants to. Um, I think he's got maybe 5 or 6 more years for the Open Championship because of his victory there, and of course he's got a PGA, so he can keep playing there. I might have a couple PGAs actually. So anyway, it's his last chance unless he wants to go to the Monday qualifiers next year. So we'll see what happens.
Well, I'll say this: over 3 rounds at the Virginia tournament, the Live Golf tournament he played this past weekend, he was 13 under. So
Yeah,
when he's on, he's on.
like
Maybe
top five, right? When he like top
top
five?
four, top four, yeah.
Okay. Hey, you never know. We were
Never
at Kiowa. As a matter of fact, I'm pimping that shirt too. We were at the Ocean Course. When he won it 4 years ago, it was amazing. So you know, we'll see. But complicated guy. Well, fellas, what's as we say goodbye to this preview and start taking our spot as spectators, we're still golfers.
know.
You got any big rounds coming up in the next week or a couple weeks that you're looking forward to?
B.
Anything on the schedule? Be smooth. You've always got a story, man.
Yeah, well, yeah, this week I do. And it's probably my own version of Oakmont. And I'm repping one of them now because I was on a call earlier with some of the folks I'm going to head out there with, but heading toward Wichita to play Flint
All right.
Hills National. I'm pretty sure I forgot what the ranking is, but it's there. And then Prairie Dunes is nearby, and Prairie has some of that gnarly hairy, rough. I used to remember it was like that back in the day. It was very thick and lush. But I'm going to get to do that. And speaking of, even though I'm not forecasting ahead of it, I'm playing with a couple of threes, a couple of fours, no, a couple of eights. And I think there's 116 in the group. So that'll be my riding buddy.
All right.
But yeah, no, Flint and Prairie, and looking forward to it next
That's
week.
great, man. That's great. Izzy, I know you can play our local course. You might see me there tomorrow. I'm playing 9 over there tomorrow, and Mrs. Byrd is going to go out there and
Hey,
play 9 with me.
all right, all right.
So we're going.
Yeah, I'm playing at 9 tomorrow night. I'm going to play as many holes as I can get in before it gets dark. Definitely
Right.
minimum of 9, but maybe I can make 15 before I got to call it. But I
Yeah.
likely will be going to Houston this week, and I'm going to try and bring my clubs. And if I have time after work a day or two, I might swing by somewhere, and I might try and film out there too if I can. We'll see.
Oh, man, that's lovely. Well, we're all convening. My wife's side of the family doing a Myrtle Beach trip next week, so we'll be down in Myrtle. Everybody's going down Saturday to Saturday. I'm gonna spend the weekend here with No for a couple of days, Father's Day weekend, and then I'm gonna join them after that. And I'm taking my clubs and figuring out where I'm gonna play. And what I usually do, there's no other golfers on this trip, so I just get up one morning, I
Mm-hmm.
make a tea time, I go play, get be back for dinner. Everybody's happy. So I was looking for places to play, and I've been down to Myrtle twice since November, and I've played kind of my old haunts: Caledonia, TPC, Pauly's Plantation, Tidewater, Die
Mm.
Course, Kings North. I'm like, I got to find somewhere good to play, and what can I do? And then my mind just started wandering, and I was like, how far is the drive from Surfside Beach to Kiowa.
Mm.
And it's 2.5 hours. That's a stretch.
That was a
But
stretch.
checked it with everybody, and everybody's like, go for it. So I'm going to play the Ocean Course next week at Kiowa.
There we go.
It's a bucket list opportunity for me. It's one that I almost got to play a couple years ago, last year or 2 years ago, and it just didn't work out. And I'm just, hey, you never know when
Mhm.
this ride stops. So
Right.
go down there.
Right.
So I don't know what day yet. Middle of next week, I'll pick a day that the weather looks, fairly pleasant. I'm gonna try to. They have rounds every day. They have some early rounds as well. So we'll get down there early and play. Be back for dinner. Just so when we convene in a week or two, I'll tell you all about my exploits at Kiowa, the Ocean Course, where I will not be playing the tips, where I will be playing something in the neighborhood of 65 or 6,600 yards. And if I shoot 90 something, I'll be happy as can be. So I'll let you guys know.
Hey, that's a commendable distance, 66.
Yeah, man, I'm no further. So maybe I'll play the silvers. I think they're like 64. That might be a little short. We'll see. But I know it's going to be windy and I know it's going to be hard. But if you just play, one shot at a time, we can get around a course, fellas. So if I break 100, I'll be telling tall tales for the foreseeable future.
All
All
right.
right. Man, I always
Gentlemen.
have fun talking to you guys. That's great.
No, always.
Well, that ends episode 14 of the Swing Collective. Everybody listening and watching, all you guys part of the collective, leave a like, share it if you can, tell friends and family, subscribe if
Just
you
tell
haven't.
one person. Bring them into the collective. We're all friends here, man. We'd love to have some new people come in. If you have a question or something that you want to go further on, hey, leave us a comment, shoot us an email. It's the swing collective at gmail.com.
Mm-hmm.
No apostrophe. It's the swing collective at gmail.com. Hey, drop us a line. You want to come on the show? Hey, we'll bring you on the show. Come on in. Let's come on into the swing collective. Fellas, hit them straight, and I'll catch you on the next tee box.
See you guys next week.
Awesome. See you next week.
All right, guys.